Good morning all. I'm just going to connect some little fork terminals to these wires and some banana plugs so I can plug into my battery to put 12 volts onto my wooden frame, partly for the diesel heater and partly for all the other stuff, all the lighting that I'm going to have there. So while I do that, I thought I'd just insert some random clips of random stuff I've been doing recently, none of which kind of made a video, but perhaps this will make a video with just some random stuff. Right, let's start with the banana plugs, because then if I forget to put these covers on, it won't matter. I can put them on from the other end, and then I'll put the fork terminals on later. People do ask, so this soldering iron, in case you're wondering, is a TS100. Right, let's switch it on, get that warm. I'm powering it from a Ryobi lithium 18 volt power tool battery, which actually is at about 20 volts. Right, where do I start? Oh yes, with these banana plugs. So let's look at a bit of random stuff. So let's go out to the covered area, and yeah, I covered it with, well, I put these timber 3x2 rafters coming down onto a frame which sits on a wall, and I've got this polycarbonate corrugated sheeting on the top. These were mounted with these nail plates, but I'm using them effectively as screw plates. And I don't know whether you can see this, but they're holding these rafters just sort of below the exposed ends of rafters that run up, that make the roof of the kitchen. So it just sort of hangs underneath there. Like I said, this is temporary. So as I sit here now, I have absolutely no idea what I just inserted into this video. I'll make those creative decisions later, but what I want to do now is tin these two wires. I've only got black in this gauge. It's quite a nice gauge. It's 17 amp. No idea what that is in AWG or SWG or whatever. So let's tin those, and I've taken recently to screwing them into these terminals and then just putting masses of solder on and soldering the whole lot together, including the little grub screw. So I'll just turn that slightly so you can see the temperature. It just looks better with a little OLED showing some sort of... So how good is the TS100 at flooding solder into this banana plug? Well, actually very good, because it's temperature controlled, so of course the instant it recognizes that the temperature is dropping, it just ramps up the power and pumps more energy into there. Have I heated up my helping hands? No, not really, they're just warm. Okay, so that's the first one. I need to put that somewhere now where it won't burn the carpet. Right, let's do this other one now. And shall we have some more random stuff? Right, so this is what I'm working on. I need to put this lamp pointing down at an angle, and then that becomes the top of the piece of board. I can put a huge great screw right through the middle of this board to attach it to the brickwork. But yeah, I think what I'm going to do is drill a hole in the edge of this. I still wish this were black. Maybe there is something I can do about that. But drill a hole into there, feed this wire through, drill a few drain holes in there so that if any water collects in this PIR, it just runs out. This is fully sealed, so it can run onto there. I don't mind that. Right, there's my 8-inch piece of hardwood, and I've marked a little X right in the middle where I'm going to drill the mounting hole. It only needs one because it won't rotate because of friction of this onto the brickwork. For this, obviously, I'm going to use a power drill, and I've got one of these old Ryobi blue and orange series bit sets. This is the Brad drill bit set, so I think 4mm should be about right. So I want my lamp to go kind of there at an angle right against the edge. I think I want my PIR to go up there, and so of course I've done exactly what I said I'd do. I've soldered this on without this, kind of deliberately, really. Yes. So at this end I don't need any indicator heat shrink because these indicate polarity. So let's go for red on this one. Let's find the other end of that. slide it down the wire and into there. That's my pause terminal. The grub screw just slightly fouls the covering there, so you just got to press that a little bit. And is the neg cool? Ooh, a little bit warmer than the other one was, but it's cool enough to take the cover. Well, let's have some more random stuff, shall we? Now, I really want this PIR sensor to be black, not white, so I'm going to take drastic action and try and colour it black. This could be a really, really terrible idea, but here goes. Oh, that's soaking in quite nicely, actually. Yeah, so I might leave that inner ring as white just to accentuate it. But yeah, I'm going to colour this entire thing black. Yes, right. Well, it's sort of black. Actually, it looks a bit more purple than black. Right, time to remove these insulating things from my fork terminals. Oh, it doesn't want to come off. Oh, satisfying squeal. Right, I'll need some heat shrink to go on there after I solder it, so I'll need to put that on the wire first. Right, let's wire strip this. Now the minimum setting on this thing is 5. Oh, incidentally, people do ask, so it's a Wycon wire stripper number 5. But I don't need 5mm, so I'm going to go for about 3. And then that will go in there. That's a nice fit. So now let's cut that down to the sort of length I want, which is not very long, and poke it in the hole and solder it on. This is getting a bit short. Now how do I get that straight? The hole's too big really in there. I want something with a smaller hole, but this is the whole spade terminal problem. Right, I'm going to have to feed soldering from this end. In you go. And now of course what's happened is it's flooded across the spade terminal, so I've now got a little flat of solder in there, which is not ideal. Let's just reheat that again. No, it's just migrating further and further up the terminal, so that's not helping at all. And so now with this big heat gun, what make is it? Oh, it's some crappy cheap make. While I just shrink this, shall we have some more random stuff? So I've never actually skew screwed anything before, and yeah, it's quite satisfying. I went in with a brad point to start with, then I put this long 1/8 of an inch drill down in there to pilot the lower piece of wood, and now I've just gone in with one of these countersinking bits, and now I'm going to put the screws in, and hopefully it all fits. So are these going to work? The heads are going to sit on that point there, so they're going to be about there. Yeah, that screws into a nice depth in the piece of wood below, perhaps a bit too deep, but that will certainly hold that upright, because that's where the heater's going to go, right there. So it does look a little bit ugly with the screw heads poking out, but I think that's going to work, and my plate is going to fit right there, so that it's screwed onto 3 separate pieces of timber, which should hopefully minimize vibration, and certainly it's not going to fall off, I hope. So my screws at the top aren't quite as symmetrical, but they've certainly gone in deeper, and so it's a nicer flush effect. Down at the bottom they're sticking out a bit. Maybe I did them at too strong an angle, but anyway, that's pretty good now. That's solid, that's not going anywhere, and the heater will now mount on well, with 4 screws on 3 pieces of timber. So there's my plate. The heater's going to be on this side, the exhaust is going to go out the back, and so is the air intake. Now the roof extends over there a little bit, so I don't really want water dripping on the exhaust pipe, so I need to bend it fairly soon after it exits that hole. I mean, it's going to be a hot pipe and the water's just going to fizz on the exhaust pipe, that'll stress it. I think I can keep that underneath the polycarbonate roofing, and so it shouldn't get directly dripped on. So let's offer it up Now you get 4 studs which are designed to fit through this rubber thing on the bottom, but the flat part of the studs is a bit too long. You also get 4 bolts. One of those is too long because the casting underneath on this thing just won't quite take the length of it. So I found some screws myself. Right, there it is, mounted on its plate on its 2 uprights, so it's well inside the covered section of the roof, which extends out there. That's where it's sitting there. See if I can get a shot round the back. There are the pipes coming out around the back for exhaust out and combustion air in. This is the hot air out. You can see the fins there of the heatsink. This is the cool air in. Just make sure that rotates. It does. It's still scraping, but I guess it'll just scrape away whatever's causing that problem. This plastic housing isn't actually anchored to the mounting. It's the metalwork that's anchored, so the plastic housing floats about a bit, but that should be fine. Right, let's get the cover on that. So the cable comes down underneath the unit, which I think is ideal. So all the electrics can be done on the sort of dry side of this thing. Now, some people have said, why are you heating a space that's clearly not sealed from the elements? Well, of course, I won't be doing that. I'll be putting panelling into these gaps, probably a multi-wall polycarbonate. I'm going to put some sort of tarpaulin over that side. Over this side, I kind of want to use those PVC strips. I can't remember what it's called now, but there are lots of individual strips that just hang down and overlap, and it creates a sort of wall that you can walk through. It's like a wall and a door. So hopefully, yeah, this place will be completely enclosed, and that heater will make it warm. I want to be out here in t-shirt and shorts. And you can see just how close this unit is to my 12-volt battery, which is just back there with the charge controller running. And now I've just put the exhaust pipe on there, roughly in position. Let's have a look at that from the other angle. So from the top, that looks like that. And I want to be sure that water dripping off this polycarbonate roof isn't going to drip directly onto that exhaust pipe. It's probably going to make mincemeat of these weeds down here and cover them in black soot. But yeah, that's roughly how to go. I've got to put the air intake on the other side and then get some power to this thing and fire it up. And finally, the neggy one. Oh, I very nearly didn't put the heat shrink on there. That was nearly a disaster. Okay, let's put the neggy terminal on there. And then this is going outside to do my 12-volt hookup. And I will go out and video that. So let's take my cables out to the work area, which is out there. Diesel heater mounted. Let's get out there and see what we've got. Okay, so you can see that I've mounted these 2 DC connector blocks, one for POS, one for neg. These cables are going on there and attaching to the battery. Right, the main feed wires are on here. They look quite thin, but they're actually rated for 17 amps. So the other end of these, which are my banana plugs, are now going to plug into the 2 spare holes on the battery. Right, I've had to thread them through around the outside of the air intake pipe so they don't rest against the exhaust pipe here, because that's going to get hot. Right, so neg into neg, POS into POS. No, it's not connected to anything yet. There's no fuse in those cables yet. I might have to think about rigging up some sort of fuse. How's the charge controller doing? Very overcast today, so it's flickering away. It is modulating though, so that means this battery is at 13.5 volts. And I now have 12 volts up on my connectors. Yay! Yeah, all ready to start wiring up heaters and lots of lights up here on the roof, all powered by that battery. Cheerio.